You lost your question because I was thinking it's up, didn't you?
Hold on. What?
Uh-oh. What's going on?
Hold on. This Apotheny post is pretty amazing. All right, I'm shared it in chat. It says, "My RMT confession from Apoth." What? This is a PL
He's probably
guy.
not actually confessing. He is probably
No, he goes, "I made about $15,000, enough for 2 years' rent from RMT. After confessing this to all of you, as me being a fraud and reporting it to CCP, I don't expect forgiveness." Holy shit! This is a scandal beyond scandals, boys. Holy shit! This is a scandal beyond scandals, boys.
Holy shit, this is a scandal beyond scandals, boys.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun today. All right, I apologize for starting with the low-hanging fruit. I couldn't resist. Welcome to ProtoType. Here we're going to discuss happenings in the EVE media, commentary and opinion, a little bit of video shitposting, and of course original content by yours truly. Me? I'm Proto, team leader for the Neocom.com, podcaster, EVE community social critic, and recently dubbed FC of the EVE media. So strap in, anchor up, and let's do this thing.
Oh my. Boat, my friend, what is this? I mean, I didn't think that we could even broadcast today. Here we are. It's a Saturday. We're doing the meta show.
Yeah,
and I was certain from everything that I had heard and read from all of the whining of the last 3 or 4 days that it is impossible to run an EVE stream unless you have a casino backing you up. And now that there are no casinos allowed in EVE, and many of them have been banned explicitly and openly for RMT, that there can be no streams, no media, no nothing. How are we even here?
No, I promise this isn't going to be an entire episode regarding the meta show, but no sense in burying the lead. Believe it or not, TMC has good reason to be smug. And there are a lot of points in which I agree with the abolishment of EVE Online casino gambling sites, which I will go into later. For now, let's try to get past the smugness, keep our eye on the ball, and talk about the main issue at hand. Now, I'm sure we're all familiar with how this went down, but for those who've been living on the ass end of Cloud Ring, here's the TLDR. Basically, on the morning of October 12th, CCP released a dev blog that made Bobmon go, Now look, certainly Bobmon wasn't alone in this sentiment. Naiden from CZ, Nash Cadaver from EVNT, most in-game charities, and a few prominent personalities such as Grath Telkin took to the warpath. And when I say warpath, I mean, of course, they handled the news in the most genteel and polite way possible. Yeah, who am I kidding? But the worst mistake in CCP history, according to Bobmon and Naiden at the time, was banning RMTers and acknowledging the growing concerns in the gaming industry of online gambling since the whole CSGO lottery scandal involving T. Martin and Syndicate went down. Yeah, brilliant deduction. And here I thought CCP's biggest mistake to date was not learning from the whole Summer Blink fiasco and getting a jump on the subject when they had the chance. But I understand emotions were high. This came out of nowhere and it hit the EVE Online community harder than Mike Tyson punching Pee Wee Herman. The only thing I can't understand for the life of me is why a standing CSM member would be calling for a return to the Jita riots because he got 400 billion worth of shit locked down. Sorry, Bobmon. Not your personal army. But now that we have a general idea of how the community itself responded, let's get back to Smugfest 2016 and listen to the I Told You So's.
So it is the dream. Now here's the thing, is that we've been saying that gambling is a poisonous impact on the game for a long time.
Yeah, about that, just out of curiosity, did that feeling of moral righteousness start before or after y'all failed to get the evening's games club off the ground? You don't gain the moral high ground just because you failed to do it yourself. That's called a cop-out. That's not the moral high ground. This is not how the moral high ground works. I mean, he goes on to address this issue for another hour, acknowledging the Evening Games Club, but justified it in a way by saying that it was the only way to compete, basically. Forgive me, but I'm crying about as much of a river for you back then as you are for getting I Want ISK shut down now. We get an hour-long summation of his case that all casinos were bad. RMT was always a thing in them, and then only at the very end of his show does he finally concede that maybe EveBet wasn't so bad. We even had a case where DBRB directly implicated Suetonia because it was what he heard. Ay, ay, ay.
I mean, somebody who's taking ISK from EveBet or EVE Online Hold'em as a sponsored whatever, I don't see any culpability or any dirt there, right?
Right.
Actually, Rain, I already said earlier that I don't think that Suetonia did that. Boat did bring that up.
Right,
And
I brought it up because that's what I was told.
I don't think that he did anything wrong.
I love the way that DBRB is kind of waving his hands and backing away from his previous position, saying, hey, I'm just telling you what I heard. Okay, I'm just spreading rumor. So, don't blame me. I'm just a regular guy spreading a rumor because I don't know shit.
It is important for us to parse who did what when, who knew what when. I don't think that anybody who took money from EVE Online Hold'em or from EveBet should worry about that funding being dirty. But anybody who was taking money from I Want ISK after April 25th, and after all the, let's for the sake of doing it, let's give them a couple weeks after that. After that point, people were on the hook. They had fair warning and knowledge. They had the opportunity to realize that. So it's just fantastic all the way around.
So, situation normal. TMC is going to be TMC, right? Now, let's get back to my agreement with the Matani about the necessity that these casino sites got banned. Number one, there's just way too much influence. Fortunately, Matani had to learn this just as the rest of us felt living under the boot of the CFC. When somebody else has a near infinite amount of resources and allies, there's not much you could do about it. Now, I'm not throwing down with him on this, all right? I'm just saying that the way he feels now is the way most of the smaller alliances felt back then. The difference in this case, though, in World War B, was that there was no risk to Lenny or I Want ISK. There was literally nothing for the goons to strike back against. So, no wonder they didn't put up a fight. It wouldn't have mattered. The bankroll was too one-sided, and you couldn't strike back against the attackers. Because the attackers in this case wasn't the mercenary coalition, it was I Want ISK. And none of those resources are in-game and vulnerable to counterattack. So this is a valid point. I agree, 110%. Second point. Economic influence. In the word of the impending shutdown, if that had been leaked, the amount of Plex that would have been dumped on the market would have been huge. Lockfox over there on Eve Prosper commented that even after, now that the word was out and EveBet was still in operation, he feared a 10% drop in Plex price, and that's from one casino. Fortunately for us all, EveBet seems to have been in a good financial position, and it didn't need to cash out many Plex in order to cover their payouts. But for the specifics on his theory and this story, head on over to Eve Prosper. I'll have a link in the box below. Follow it. You'll get some good insight out of it. Third point: you don't know where all this ISK has been. It's long been known that the best way to launder ill-gotten RMT ISK is to do it through a casino. My inclination is that this was a consideration in the decision, in order to lessen the amount of possible laundromats. I'd defer to NozyGamer on this. I'd like to know his opinion. Fourth point. Now, say what you want about the CSGO case. Okay? I think it's blown way out of proportion, but whatever. But I think it was very smart that CCP took steps to cover their ass when it comes to the recent crackdown of online gambling. We're seeing this in Florida. We're seeing this in the UK. I think there's even a case in Texas, or it might be California. I'm not sure. But I think they saw the signs to get their legal house in order to prevent themselves from unknowingly violating some gambling law in some country or state or town that could somehow pull jurisdiction out of their ass and sue CCP for being complicit. So, yes, TMC and I do agree on something here. Now, you don't have to like the way they deliver the message, but when you sift through all the smugness and the elite attitude through the sieve of facts, the same common concerns will appear. Sometimes that message is lost through the fog of which opinions are meta and which ones aren't. The problem is innocent people are getting caught in the goddamn crossfire, and they're allowing DBRB to do it. TMC is constantly having to cover his ass when he says something blatantly false or just plain stupid. This is just the latest example. Now, certainly TMC is no stranger to throwing shade on someone, but they have a habit of not doing it directly up until recently. Because as of late, it seems that they've gone to the direct approach when it comes to media outside of the Imperium. And unfortunately, once again, they've resorted to digging up bones when it comes to crossing zebras. And it started just a few weeks ago on Talking in Stations.
Difference between something like what happened over there where he can't get, writers from the other side is the culture is bad. I think that if you're in the channel with them, and this is what I've heard from two different sources, it's really, it's just not a good environment.
Does this sound familiar to anybody?
With them, and this is what I've heard from two different sources.
That boat did bring that up.
Right,
And
I brought it up because that's what I was told.
I don't.
Citation needed. You morons. Just because you heard something doesn't make it true. So, now, as a result of the antics of the meta show regarding implicated Suetonia and basically anyone else that posed a threat to them either in-game or out of game, Ashtarothi made a public announcement on Twitter that he was leaving Talking in Stations. This was also done with a tandem post in Reddit. Now, I've gotten to a point in the past where I've gotten fed up. When I was with Crossing Zebras, I even submitted a rant concerning my disappointment with the vocal community regarding the bonus room scandal. But I knew Xander was never going to run it. I just needed to get it off my chest before I took a break from the game. So I understand the need to vent, but why do it publicly where surely these comments would attract trolls and drama? Well, we were speculating in the Neocom Discord management channel about why Ash would feel the need to risk being labeled as stirring up drama just because he was quitting Talking in Stations and no longer working for any of the Imperium staff. As I ran through the Reddit comments, this came up. Apparently, Matterall had asked him to make a public statement. What on earth purpose did this serve? To my recollection, no other TMC staff has had to come out like that, save for Lazarus Tellraven because he was doing his own separate Twitch channel. He's the only one I remember. The only thing that this accomplished was to make Ash burn a bridge himself. As time went by, maybe he would have returned. But for now, after making a spectacle of him quitting, you just basically swindled Ashtarothi into making sure nobody on the Imperium staff would want to work with him, because if something goes wrong, Ash might publicly post about it. I'm pretty sure Ash would never want to burn a bridge with the Imperium. But by convincing him to leave like this, you just assured he was labeled a drama queen. Well played, Matterall. Well fucking played. Okay, so before we wrap up this first episode, some quick game news for you all. Pink spaceships. But they're not Sisters of Eve, who cares? The Crimson Harvest is coming back. More Amar shit. I don't want it. I'm in Matar. Fuck off. I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. No, we will have more game news in the Neocom podcast. You can catch that soon. Head on over to the neocom.com. Give us a visit. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully we'll get some more out to you here pretty soon. Episode 2, I'm already putting in the queue right now. I've got some good stuff. Not so much drama. We've got actually some good fun coming up. Even a new segment I want to test out called ProtoType Fits. So look forward to that. So with that, on behalf of Team Neocom, my name is Proto. It's been a pleasure. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time.